Okay, everybody. So let's just take a little look here at what I'm presenting on the screen, and we'll give a little background on why I'm presenting this on the screen. If you dialed into the first session, you would have seen a video I was going through some Irish news, which was at the start of January 2026. So I just thought I'd put out a little video to give some context as to why I'm doing this, who I am, and maybe some context to my family and my roots and that sort of thing. Essentially, the whole journey for me begins, it's like around a 6,000 kilometer journey. I'll let you convert that to miles from the Chicagoland area to the fields of Connacht, which is where I started my return to Ireland. Basically, what we're going to look at here is background to present from a perspective of me, and that's going to lead to why I'm making videos like this and the video you saw previously on the first session, which you might have dialed into. So just some background, some heritage from my side. My great grandparents, they're originally from Mayo. They moved to Chicago, and my great grandfather was a member of the Chicago Police Department. My grandfather also worked in Chicago as a person who passed down knowledge as a college professor. My grandfather worked for 35 years for the city colleges of Chicago. And I also don't want to forget to mention my grandma, who raised a fine family, who I'm proud to call my dad and aunts and uncles. Also, interestingly enough, my grandfather's brother was the president of the Irish American Heritage Society in Chicago. My father, he's currently a member of the Ancient Order of Hibernians in Greenville, South Carolina, and that's kind of just a little high-level overview of the Irish side of my family. For me, I returned to Ireland, or should I say, I moved to Ireland. From a family perspective, you could say I returned, but basically, I went to the west, Connacht, Ireland. You would consider it Galway specifically, County Galway, but I would say Galway City Centre. That's where my university was, the University of Galway. I basically made a deliberate choice to return. It wasn't random. You could consider it an act of identity, and education served that purpose. You could say that location was the meaning. I mentioned that at 18 I moved to Galway, and that was to study a bachelor's degree in business, specifically commerce. That was the title of the degree. I was able to complete that in 3 years. Some versions of the course is four, mine was three. And after that, I took on a master's degree in information systems management. That could be the summary of my first 4 years in Ireland, again based in Galway out in the west. Fun fact about Galway, it's so rainy, it rains nearly every day. You might know that yourself if you've lived out in the west or traveled to Galway yourself anyway. When I finished university, I took the long road down to Dublin to start my career, and we'll get into a bit more of that now. So, with the two degrees that I obtained from the University of Galway, I had the mindset that this was not a stint abroad, but rather an intentional, um, driven decision to dive into the Irish ecosystem. I've lived in the West, I've lived in the East, and I've traveled all around for Ireland, both for work and fun. Personally, from that perspective, I take complex tax and ideas, and when I say that perspective, I do mean from a work perspective. What I do is I take complex topics and I break them down so that those with a lot of experience or maybe those with less experience can understand a topic. I look to my audience and build a experience that suits their profile, so that way the content is fresh and meaningful and engaging. Just a highlight for me, while I was traveling for business last year in County Mayo, I was delivering a bunch of sessions for a business. I won't name the business, I'll keep that to them. But after was delivering sessions to their users, their business people, I went to the mountain Croagh Patrick and I climbed the mountain after work. This was after a heavy day of system launches, so the business was just after launching their new computer system. And I always say, if you're not making the most out of work trips, why are you in the game? That's what I always ask. I always make the most of everything. If you go to a place, you go to a city, a new town, find something that you can pivot into a new experience. If it's for work, that is. I mean, if you're going on vacation, you're going to be doing that anyway. But if it's for work, go ahead and find something that you can add some extra meaning to your day to. So, why am I introducing myself to you? Some might ask, why is an American guy doing commentary on Irish news? And you might gather that I might not just be a generic person is of American heritage, but rather that of Irish heritage as well, especially based on the context I might have given you from my father's side of the family and the 12 years that I've lived in Ireland. And why I'm doing this is because I'm interested in public speaking. It's a passion of mine. I like to talk to people in small and large groups. The largest group that I presented to so far was a group of 300 people. Some might say it was on a boring topic. I'd say it was actually quite interesting. But the topic we were discussing was the best practice of invoice processing after their new ERP system launch. There was a lot of passion in that room because, as you can imagine, getting invoices paid means getting business moving and money out the door. So a goal of mine, which I will achieve through this format, is to take my passion for public speaking, and which I currently fulfill in my work life, but to also have a pivot into more public speaking opportunities outside of my traditional 9 to 5. One thing I'll leave you with is your story is the best case study you have. Be ready to draw through the lines between your heritage, your education, and your current work, and pivot that into a passion which drives you and kind of lights up the fire in your heart. So that's the conclusion I'll leave you with, and I hope you take a look at the next video I put out. It's going to be a similar format to the first one, whereas this video is kind of an introduction to bridge the gap between the first and follow-on videos. So go ahead and take a look at the channel, like and subscribe if you like, and I hope to see you on the next one.